Hey everybody, welcome back to the Tales of the Pod podcast. My name's Michaela, I'm your host.
I'm your co-host Nick. How's it going, guys?
And this week we are talking about everyone's favorite topic.
Zombies.
Zombie movies. Mm-hmm. Which, this was definitely Nick's idea.
Oh yeah, I love zombie movies. I love anything super gory.
He's more of a zombie girly than I am, I would say. That's definitely not my favorite genre of horror, but there's some good ones out there.
There's good ones, yeah. A lot of them are very corny, obviously, but
yes.
There's still good ones out there, obviously,
Yeah. And I like ones where the zombies are actually smart, and they don't just just walk.
Well,
everywhere.
yeah, there's some serious ones, 28 Days Later and stuff where they're running.
Like hybrid zombies.
Yeah, exactly.
Where they're actually smart enough. Some of them are so dumb and so slow that it's are you really even being chased at that point?
And then, the Army of the Dead, they were cognitive, but they just ate people. It was weird.
Yeah.
They were a new species, basically, of humans.
And I always think it's interesting. I will say one of my favorite parts of zombie movies is definitely how I'm always interested in how the disease is transmitted, where it came from, where it started. Did humans do it? Did animals do it? Where did it come from? So I always find that part interesting, how it spreads from person to person.
Yeah,
and how it originated.
I don't really think a lot of them actually obviously it spreads by getting bit, but a lot of them I don't think it really says where the thing came from until the very end of the movie.
Yeah, sometimes at the very end it'll be oh shit, it came from this.
Yeah.
And it's by the time that happens, it's way too late. But
yeah, either they tell you or they don't tell you, basically.
Yeah, but I always find that part of them interesting, at least. But some of them are definitely over the top.
Right.
So we'll be counting down our top 5 favorite zombie movies, and if you want to start with your number 5 first, you can.
Alright, so I picked Hell of the Living Dead for my number 5. This is an Italian zombie movie, so it's going to be cheesy and gory. It's directed by Bruno Mattei. The film is set in a laboratory in Papua New Guinea, and it releases this chemical agent that basically turns all the technicians working at this chemical plant into zombies. And so that's how it starts out. This gets exposed. These two guys, they get it's actually kind of funny because a rat gets exposed to it first, and then they go to investigate why there's the chemical leaking, and they're in the hazmat suits and everything, and the rat came back to life and killed the one guy, and then that guy came back to life and killed the other guy. So basically, it just turned them all into zombies at this laboratory. But then it cuts to these commandos, I guess you'd call them. They're I guess they'd be the equivalent of Rangers or Green Berets or something like that. They're in this hostage crisis. There's these group of activists that are telling, they're holding all these people hostage, and they're telling, them that they want this place called Hope Center shut down. And that's one of the factories that's the factory where in Papua New Guinea the agent got released, the chemical agent.
I feel a lot of movies that you pick are set in Papua New Guinea. Wasn't that where Cannibal Holocaust was?
Yeah, but because there is kind of a tie between, there's some cannibalism too in this movie and everything. And no, Cannibal Holocaust was in the Amazon.
Oh, okay.
But so these commandos are trying to rescue these hostages from these they're terrorists basically, but they're doing it for a good cause. They want these Hope Centers shut down because they know what they're really up to. So they end up killing the terrorists, and then they're sent to the Hope Center because they lost contact. The commandos are sent to the Hope Center because they lost contact, and so the government's okay, we got to get you guys out there to figure out what's going on. So they arrive in Papua New Guinea, and they're wandering through the jungle and everything like that, and they come across the tribes and stuff that are there and everything like that, and they're all kind of zombified now too. They're eating each other and killing, and trying to kill them. Then they make it to this villa where they're kind of held up there because there's so many zombies, and a couple of the commandos die at this villa. And there's this one awesome scene they're going around looking, making sure there's no zombies in the villa, and they're going around looking, and there's this old lady, a dead old lady sitting in a chair, and the guy's got his gun, and he's walking up to her, and he's she's dead clearly, but he's waiting for something to for her to come back to life. But instead of her coming back to life, this cat jumps out of her stomach, bursts out of her stomach and jumps on the guy.
Casually.
Oh, it's just it's a good jump scare. These cannibal or these zombie movies from the Italians are just over the top, man, with the gore and just the effects and everything.
I will say zombie movies do have good jump scares, because there's a lot of are they dead, are they not dead, and then they come back at the very last moment, and you're oh shit.
Yeah. So after they they lose 2 of the commandos. they end up at the Hope Center, and I forgot to mention this, but when they got to Papua New Guinea, there was also a news crew, because obviously, these Italian films, there's always like a news crew with these like cannibal movies or these zombie movies. There's a news crew there that they kind of like team up with, and they're investigating like the strange going-ons like on the island of Papua New Guinea and everything like that. So they're kind of like teamed up now. But when they get to the Hope Center, it's just one of the news reporters and I believe one of the commandos are left, and it kind of ends on like a disturbing note too, because it's kind of like a messed up thing what these Hope Centers were actually doing. They end up finding out like these Hope Centers were going to release this chemical agent to like kill off all the third world countries.
It's terrible.
Yeah, it's like super messed up.
Like population control? Or like
yes, exactly. Yeah, it's
called?
Population control, essentially. It's like get rid of all the riffraff, basically.
Or like ethnic cleansing, I guess.
Yeah, it's like eugenics, essentially.
That's the word I was thinking of.
So it's really dark, and it's like, and then, the girl that's the reporter, she's like, I vow to like bring this to light, but then it like cuts to like some credits that roll after the film ends. It's like this sometime later the contagion had gotten out from Papua New Guinea and went across the world, and all the politicians went into hiding, and all the big wigs in the government are like underground now, and that's how the movie ends. So it's not really that corny. I mean, it is kind of corny because it's an Italian zombie movie, but it's got like a really deep message, and it's just super over the top gory too. I mean, there's awesome like entrails getting pulled out, people getting ripped apart, a lot of like eating of organs and stuff that you see, and it's complete debauchery, but it's definitely one of my favorite ones. I like watching this one. It's also known as Virus, and there was one other name it was marketed under too. It did pretty well initially in the theaters and everything like that, but other than that, it's kind of now become a cult classic, but definitely worth a watch. So that's Hell of the Living Dead, if you guys would like to check that one out. I think you can find it on Tubi. I'm pretty sure that's where I
would
watch
say
it.
Probably most of those are on Tubi.
Yeah, you could get a lot of these like cannibal zombie movies on Tubi.
Also, just a side note, we got a comment on our video a couple weeks ago. Somebody said that we should show footage when we talk about scenes and when we talk about certain things from movies. And
I wish you could.
I'm not quite there yet with the copyright on YouTube. I'm not quite sure how to figure out what clips are copyrighted and which ones aren't, because that'd be great, especially when we talk about like best scary movie scenes or best kills. It would be great to show it and be like, this is exactly what we're talking about, because I know we probably only describe it, so well. Mm-hmm. So I definitely appreciate the comments. It's something I have to look into and see, because with this kind of podcast, it would be cool to at least show pictures. At least like right now, I show like what the zombies look like and all that stuff.
Exactly.
So it's something we'll definitely try to do if you guys are interested, for sure.
Yeah, we'll try to figure out a way to do that without getting
taken down. I mean, we don't have a ton of views or anything like that, so I doubt YouTube wouldn't care, but I still don't want to get copyright stuff.
Yeah, I don't want to end up like in law, in a court or something like that.
In YouTube court?
In YouTube court.
Okay, anyways. So for my number 5, I picked 2020's #Alive, which this is a Korean horror film, which I actually had to rewatch this right before we filmed because I haven't seen it since 2020. Mm-hmm. But it's a pretty good zombie movie. I would say it's the most, out of all the ones we're going to talk about today, the most modern. Granted, I think it's the newest out of all of them, sure. But it's the most modern. I mean, our main character, which I'm going to botch these names, so I think his name is John Woo.
Okay.
So I'm just going to call him John?
Junwoo?
Junwoo. I'm just going to say Junwoo, I guess. Yeah. It's kind of funny because he's like a gamer, like he's really big into online gaming, like he would be, I think, like a Twitch streamer. Mm-hmm. And so he's up all night, gamers, they're up all night and they sleep all day. Right. So he's up all night and then he sleeps through like everything the next day, and he lives at home with his family. But they all leave the next morning, and he wakes up and he looks outside and it's just absolute chaos, like zombies everywhere. And he missed his family. His family went to like the store or something, and he missed them leaving because he slept through it. And then he's like, what the hell is going on? But this is what I mean when I say it's most like technologically advanced, because his phone still works. He has a drone that he could use, so he's like using the drone. Like he's in his apartment building and he has a balcony, and he's using his drone to like go down and look at the zombies and watch what they're doing.
Oh, no kidding.
So it's the most cool, like helpful zombie movie, I would say. Like you have the most equipment. Yeah. And he still has access to like his Instagram. He's posting videos for all his followers saying like, if anybody knows where my family is or anything like this, like I'm trapped in this apartment building, and he's using this #alive. Mm-hmm. And it's like #I will survive or something. And it gets pretty. There's not a ton of gore in it. It's just more sad than anything because you kind of put yourself in the situation. I mean, he's like a 20-year-old kid, so it's like you're being trapped home alone. Your parents are out. You take a nap. You wake up, and it's the fucking zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, you're in the middle of the apocalypse.
Literally. So it gets pretty dark. He starts to kind of run out of food. He looks outside his apartment building, and they're all just... These zombies are smart-ish, but still pretty dumb.
Right.
I mean, they can run and stuff, but they're still pretty dumb. They're just, like, gnawing at walls and looking for people and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So he feels pretty hopeless, and he puts a noose around the ceiling, and he's ready to hang himself, because he's like, I'm going to go out on my own terms, whatever. And while he's doing that, this, like, laser pointer comes through his apartment building, and he looks, and he sees that this woman across the street in a different apartment building is still alive.
Right.
So they kind of become friends. He gets his drone to set up a string across. So they send food across. They send walkie-talkies across.
Oh, that's smart. Yeah.
And she's like the reason he doesn't kill himself because he's like, oh my god, there's hope. Like there's somebody else actually here. So they become really close friends. They end up actually like meeting up together at the end, and there's like a really big build-up where they finally see rescue teams going, like helicopters.
Sure.
So they run to the top of the building, and they're like, where's the crew? Where's the chopper? Where's the chopper? And the chopper's nowhere to be found.
Right.
Then, of course, like, last minute, Chopper comes. It actually is a happy ending. Chopper comes out of nowhere and picks him up. And the reason the Chopper knew where he was is because he kept posting all those online videos
So
and
he was,
the
like,
pictures.
pinging from cell towers and stuff. Yeah.
Because then it kind of plays, like, news footage at the end, and it kind of gives social media, like, a positive aspect in a situation like this, because it says, like, you know, anybody that used this hashtag or anybody that posted a video, that's how we're finding you, basically.
Yeah.
So
that's
he did
smart,
post that.
too. Yeah, that is smart, yeah.
If he did post that to all his followers, he wouldn't have been found.
I mean, that is, like, the kind of, like, the cool, like, how they can draw that parallel between, like, technology actually being used for something good, too. Like, because that would be a way, obviously, like, if it did take, you know, if communication systems were still up and running, which, I mean, I highly doubt it if that's going to happen in, like, a zombie apocalypse. I think everything would be back to, like, you know...
Yeah. Well, there becomes a
15th
point...
century.
There becomes a point where, like, Wi-Fi goes out, but then I think he gets, like, some sort of... He has, like, a backup generator. Like, he's, like, a gamer, so he's got, like, everything set up. He's prepared, if anything. If he were to lose power or Wi-Fi, I think he has, like, all this backup stuff. And then there's a scene where, like, this one zombie's trying to climb up the side of the building to get to the girl that he's talking to, and he uses his drone to try to, like, knock him off the building.
Oh, no good. That's cool.
And the zombie, like, knocks the drone down. But that's what I mean by it's the most, like... updated zombie movie.
Yeah.
Like, they have phones, they have all that stuff, you know?
Right. No, I want to watch that. That sounds good. I've never seen that.
Not,
that's cool as hell.
Like, a ton of kill scenes or, like, gore or anything like that. Like, when the zombies rip somebody apart, it's kind of shown off a screen, I'd say.
Yeah.
But I think the suspense is still there.
Well, it's just different, too. You know, it's kind of like actual survival. You know, it's not like these corny, like the next one I'm going to talk about.
No, this is definitely a serious movie. And you think at the end, like, they're screwed. Like, you think when he's going to kill himself, it's done.
Right.
And then at the end, when they're running up to the rooftop and the helicopter's not there, you're like, oh, they're screwed.
Yeah.
But then there's, like, a moment of hope at the end that, you know, he saved himself, basically, by posting all that stuff.
Sure, yeah.
And it's just sad, because he, like, finally... The only way he can get service was, like, putting his phone on his drone and trying to, like... you know, fly it up in the sky, and he hears a voicemail from his parents, and, like, in the voicemail, they get, like, taken and eaten.
Oh,
it's pretty sad, because I'm like, you put yourself in that situation, you're like, you wake up, your whole family's gone.
Right.
And they're all eaten.
Yeah, you're all in the zombie apocalypse now.
It's sad.
Alright, so for my next one, I picked Planet Terror. So this film was released it was called Grindhouse, and it was a double bill film with Quentin Tarantino's Death Proof, which was a remake of like a 1970s horror movie. Not a direct remake, but it was loosely based on it. Kind of had the same idea to it. But Planet Terror, so it was a two film deal you got with this Grindhouse thing. But I'm just going to be talking about Planet Terror. So this one was directed by Robert Rodriguez, and it's an action comedy horror. And if you just watch the movie, you'll understand why. It's not really like serious by any means, but it is kind of serious at the same time. And it's got an awesome like star-studded cast too. I mean, there's Rose McGowan, there's Michael Biehn, who played the Kyle Reese from Terminator. It's got Bruce Willis in it, Josh Brolin's in it. Quentin Tarantino actually makes a cameo in it too. So it's just star-studded cast. But basically what happens is there's this guy that's selling to these military agents. That's one of the guys, I forget his name, but it's Bruce Willis, who plays like this like colonel or like a sergeant in this military outfit. and they're selling them this chemical called DC-2, which is basically it's a bioweapon that turns, it's meant to really mess stuff up, and it turns people into zombies. And it gets dropped and it's like exposed, to the air, and it just spreads like wildfire through this town in Texas. And this is where we start meeting. So this is kind of filmed weird too, because it's like two different stories of like two different people happening while this is all going on, if that makes any sense. Yeah. So like the stuff gets exposed, and now you're seeing what it's going to do to this person's life and this person's life. So the first person's life we get introduced to is, what's her name? Cherry. I think her name is Cherry. Yeah, Cherry Darling, and she's a go-go dancer, so she's a stripper basically. And her ex-boyfriend El Rey, who's played by Freddy Rodriguez, no relation to Robert Rodriguez. He ends up back in town, and they're kind of like hitting it off and everything like that. And all of a sudden, these people in the bar just start going ballistic zombies, like just like out of nowhere, turn into zombies, start like killing each other, eating each other, and stuff like that. So they end up like, all right, let's get the hell out of here. And they're like, what the hell's going on? And El Rey's kind of like this badass, dude. He's very like badass. He's got like guns and stuff like that. Yeah. And then it cuts to this other girl. I forget her name, but basically she's a nurse, and it's like her and her husband are like fighting, and she's bisexual, so she's got like a secret girlfriend, and he found out about it and stuff like that, and he's a doctor and she's a nurse, and so they're at the hospital, and this is all happening, like this whole falling out that they're having. And then in the hospital, same kind of thing. This person comes in and
almost
it just infects like the entire hospital, and there's some awesome good kill scenes in the hospital. There's just like these warts that this guy started getting, like these blisters. They're like popping, and he's like rubbing them on like people's faces and stuff like that. It's super like uncomfortable and super gory too. I mean, people's arms are getting like ripped off, and like they're and it's weird too, because it makes your whole body like spaz out. So even like when they get like disemboweled, their intestines are like flailing everywhere and everything like that. It's actually really, really crazy.
That always freaks me out, because I work at a hospital, and I'm always like, if something like this were to happen and a patient were to come in like that, I would be like...
Yeah, exactly.
The blisters and everything, I would be like, what?
Yeah, like, what's going on? And, like, they're trying to figure out what... Because, like, they don't understand it's, like, a zombie thing, They're trying to figure out what's wrong with this guy and whatnot.
Yeah, they're trying to be, like, professional and everything.
Yeah, but then it's, like, all of a sudden it goes into complete chaos. Like, everybody's, like, getting eaten, and, like, people are turning into zombies. God. Some people aren't turning into zombies, so... Basically, the nurse, she escapes. Her husband, the doctor, gets turned into a zombie. So she ends up like running away, trying to get. I think she's with her daughter. She gets her daughter from home, and they're like running down the road and everything like that. And that's when they meet up with El Rey and Cherry. And the sheriff gets involved, and he's played by Michael Biehn. And the deputy, who's the one and only Tom Savini, he's the deputy in the movie, too. So they're, like, all kind of meet up. They're like, what the hell is going on? This is crazy. So they're, like, trying to fight off the zombies and everything like that. The military people show up. They take them all hostage. And, they take them all hostage, and they bring them back to, like, the military base. And they're trying to, they're kind of figuring out, like, what they're doing and stuff like that. Like, what they're renegade military. They're not, like, doing it for the good. They're trying to, like, cause, like, World War III, basically. Yeah. So, but before all that happens, they had a big showdown with, like, a horde of zombies, and Cherry and El Rey were on a motorcycle, and they're trying to get away, and they end up, like, wrecking, and a zombie gets a hold of Cherry and rips her leg off. And they, like, tourniquet it and everything like that. But then the coolest thing happens is after they get taken by the military people, they end up escaping, kind of, from them. Like, I guess some more of that DC-2 gets exposed, and some of the soldiers start turning into zombies and, like, eating each other. And so El Rey's steals one of their guns, which is, like, an M4 with a grenade launcher on it, and he puts it on her leg, where her leg would be, and it's, like, ripped off, up to like thigh height and everything like that. So it's basically like a peg leg for her.
That's
but
so
it also shoots
I would say,
grenades.
does it still work?
Oh, it still shoots and stuff. So they
Of
like
course.
get on the motorcycle and they like are like going through this horde of zombies, and she's got like her legs around him with the gun, like facing him, but her legs are pointing out and just like mowing down zombies. It's just out of this world. I really honestly don't remember exactly how it ends. I think they end up like getting to the Mexican border or something like that, and they're like safe there.
So it's a happy ending.
It kind of, yeah, but it's just like, it's insane. Like, just the amount of just gore and just corniness. I mean, it's awesome idea, you know.
Yeah.
I think for a movie, but
definitely corny.
And it just, very corny, and it took a big bomb at the at the box office.
I can't imagine why.
If you can imagine, it was a $23 million budget. It only made $11 million, so they took a big cut, you know, on that. But it's definitely become a cult classic, and it's for people that love like the outrageous zombie gore movies like myself, and like the Grindhouse, you know, nostalgia of the double bit, you know, gory horror movies and whatnot. So. And it's again, I mean, it's got a star-studded cast too. I mean, it's awesome, you know.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of my favorite zombie movies. So that's Planet Terror, and if you want to watch Death Proof, you're gonna probably own them both. So.
Okay. So for my number 4, I picked 2004's Dawn of the Dead, which is a remake of the 1978 film.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say this one is just like. God, this movie is like outrageous. Not as outrageous as the one you just talked about, but it's pretty outrageous.
Right.
Our main character, her name is Anna. She's a nurse, and she just worked like a long shift. So she comes home, she's hanging out with her husband, and they don't pay attention to the emergency broadcast on the TV. And of course, the emergency broadcast is like, you know, we don't know what's going on. There's some virus going around.
Yes.
People are going crazy, whatever.
Yeah.
So then the next morning, they live in like suburbia.
Oh yeah.
The next morning, one of their little neighbors, she's like a young girl, breaks into their house, and she's batshit crazy zombie.
Mm-hmm.
And these zombies are pretty aggressive.
These ones are like fast.
Yes, they'll run and things like that. And the zombie kills her husband, and she's smart enough to make a run for it. She makes an escape, drives away, and then somehow there's just like this whole cast of characters, probably like 10 of them, like I would say 7 to 10 altogether. I don't quite remember, but they all kind of take shelter in a shopping mall. Mm-hmm. Which is so. I mean, I guess it would be kind of like one of the smartest places to take shelter because you have like the food courts, you have like the protection of like the things in the stores.
Yeah, you got those metal gates that go over everything.
I guess it would be probably one of the smartest places, and if you had a mall that had like a gun store, it'd be one of the smartest. But
yes. So
they all kind of take shelter there, and they're all kind of trying to figure out what to do from here. And somebody gets word that these zombies can't swim.
Yeah.
Like, they can't swim at all.
Right.
So this takes place, I think, in Milwaukee. So I'm not sure which island they're referring to.
Yeah, it's got to be something like on Lake Michigan or something like that, or like one of the Great Lakes.
So they kind of make a plan, like, if we're going to live, we're running out of food here, we need to make a run for the island, basically. Mm-hmm. We'll go, this guy that was in their group, he's like some rich asshole. And he's like, oh, I have a boat, it's here, it's on this dock, whatever. So together they all kind of make a plan, like, we're going to go together to get to this boat, we're going to go to the island, live happily ever after.
Yeah.
And, there's like a lot of different characters here.
Yeah, there's a lot of people.
There's a lot of people. Like, I would say that one guy's like an ex-con, so he's like a badass.
Yes.
There's like a lot of different people here.
Like the mall security guards too.
The mall security guards.
He was an asshole.
There's a pretty wicked scene where this one guy, his pregnant girlfriend is a zombie, but he has her like 4-point tied down to the bed.
Yeah.
So she can give birth because he's thinking for some reason the baby's not going to be infected.
Yeah, I don't know what the point was.
Like, she's obviously, I mean, she's like green, like Exorcist style with the tongue. Like,
yes.
What do you think is going to happen here, sis?
Mm-hmm.
She pops out the kid. The kid's terrifying looking.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a poor old lady in a group that tries to go check on her to make sure everything's okay.
Yeah.
And she gets attacked.
Yes,
which I think she survives, but she gets attacked.
Yeah.
And, so it's a pretty wicked scene because you're watching it and you're like, what's the zombie baby gonna look like?
I know, that was the big highlight of that movie. I remember when it came out, like that was like the thing to like.
Zombie baby.
Oh yeah, I was like, this is like a new level horror right here, a zombie baby.
Yeah. And it attacked the dad, and the dad was just an idiot to begin with for letting that happen.
Yeah.
But they kind of get these two, I'd say, buses, and they deck them out just so they're ready to fight these zombies.
Sure.
And they have guns on the side. They have like a thing here where they can put a chainsaw and just like slice them. Like, it's a pretty gory, over the top, outrageous movie.
Oh yeah.
More action, really, than anything, I would say.
Definitely an action zombie flick for sure.
But they're like taking these buses and driving them through thousands and thousands and thousands of zombies.
Oh yeah.
You just see like, through the street, they're going like a mile a minute, going like this so slow.
I know, I love it. I love how they like just like how they film it. Like it's like, okay, we got this plan, and then it's like they're like all of a sudden have all this stuff and like these vehicles to like pimp out these vehicles and like zombie machines and stuff like
literally
that.
pimp out the vehicles. And then there's one part, it's funny, where they have this one guy with them who you can tell who's never killed anybody or held a weapon or anything in his life.
Yes.
And he's trying to do the thing with the chainsaw where you hold it out the window like that, and he ends up like turning around and putting the chainsaw on one of the girls in the van.
Oh my god, yeah, they wreck like immediately after getting out of the mall. Yeah.
And then I think they flip over and then they have to get from the one van to the others, and then they're one van down, they only have one now.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty sad ending because they lose probably half or more than half of the clan.
Yeah.
And by the time they get to the dock, there's like a horde of zombies after them.
Yes.
And they're running to get to the boat. So they're on the boat and they're floating away. The zombies are looking at them at the dock doing their little hissing and whatever.
Right.
And you're like, sigh of relief, finally safe.
Oh yeah.
Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They pull up to the island and they're like, oh, some peace and quiet. And then next thing you know, the zombies just come running over the hill and then that's how it ends.
I know, so there were zombies on the island.
So there's zombies everywhere.
Yeah.
They can swim. It's a myth.
Yeah, and they don't really like allude to like what the cause was, you know.
No, they
for
don't.
It.
Which is sad, because like I said, I find that interesting when they do that. But
yeah, no, I do too. I like it when you like, okay, what's the reasoning behind it? Like,
yeah, did we do something? Because I like to think about if something like this were to happen in real life, what's going to cause it? You know?
Right, exactly.
But it was. I mean, it's a good. I think it did pretty well. It made $102 million worldwide on a $26 million budget.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think if people were waiting for that to be remade, you know.
It says Romero did not like it.
Oh, he didn't?
No.
Oh, well.
Is that he had a distaste for it.
Yeah, I can see that, sure.
But it had positive reviews for critics who saw improvements over the original in terms of acting, production values, and scares.
Yeah, I do like the original. I don't like the color they were in like the original. Like they were like a blue color.
They were like blue.
Yeah, and then like even in Day of the Dead, they were like blue, like even more blue.
Well, it's just inevitable with, you know, newer filming and newer. You have more money, you have things like that.
Sure.
They're going to look more realistic.
Yeah, they're going to make them look more realistic. But I get why he would be upset because it is like his movie, and like, oh, mine is better, you know.
That's a pretty common thing. I know, like Stephen King doesn't like a lot of movies. Like he didn't like The Shining, so it's like you sign your rights away for your story, and then they take it and they twist it in whatever they want.
Yeah, and then you end up not liking it.
Yeah,
you know?
That's kind of frustrating.
No, I definitely agree. All right, so for my number 3, I picked 1985's Demons. So this isn't like just another, it's an Italian film. It was directed by Lamberto Bava, who I believe is Mario Bava's son. And it was produced by one and only Dario Argento. So this one, basically, it takes place in a movie theater, and it starts out with these two girls on like the subway, and they get handed these free tickets to this movie that's supposed to be playing at the theater. And so then it cuts to them like going to the theater. There's probably a good theater size full of, or theater's basically full with the amount of people that's there. And they're all getting their drinks and everything like that, and they don't really allude to what the movie is or anything like that. But, so anyway, they're getting their drinks and whatnot, and then all of a sudden, there's like some masks that are like hanging on the statue outside of like the entrance into the actual theater room. And like there's some people like playing on it and everything like that, and like, making fun of it and whatnot. And so they all kind of funnel in there, and the movie starts playing, and it's like this super gory, like slasher movie. And there's this guy's like got a knife and he's like killing these girls and stuff like that. It's pretty gory and stuff like that too. And then he's like digging up this grave, and there's like another mask that's like the same one that's out on that statue. That these people are there's still some people that are like, straggling, getting into the theater and whatnot. And as he finds this mask in the movie, this girl has the mask on at the statue, she gets cut by it trying to take it off, and she's like bleeding. It's like a metallic mask for some reason. And she's bleeding, so they go to the bathroom, and that's when basically all hell breaks loose. She just starts turning into this like demon thing. Like
hence the name.
Teeth start getting like wicked long and pointy, and her mouth like widens and everything like that, and turns into like this wicked demon thing. And not long after that, somebody wanders into the bathroom, gets immediately killed. She's now a demon, too, the person that got killed. So they're not really zombies. They're turning into, like, these demon things. Like, they're morphing. They're not just, like, rising from the dead. They're, like, you know, becoming something a little different. And then all pandemonium breaks out in the theater because these two wander into the theater and start killing everybody. And it's also the film turning people in the audience into these things, too. And, like, the theater somehow gets, like, possessed by whatever this force is causing these people to do that. Like, all the doors are locked and everything like that. Nobody's getting out. Everybody's just getting slaughtered. Obviously, there's people that are, like, escaping and, like, hiding from them and everything. And essentially, that's basically it for the movie. And I believe everybody...
in my head now when we go to the movies.
Yeah, it's pretty insane.
Trapped in a theater.
And the movie's turning these people into zombies. It's a cool idea. Again, it's not really executed that greatly because it is like kind of a lower budget. I think this is one of Lamberto Bava's first films, but it's definitely become a cult classic over time. And these zombie demon things, they're very like. Just they're outrageous. I mean, you got to go and watch it. I can't really describe them to you.
It's like over the top.
Yeah, over the top. Like I said, with like the teeth, like the fingers are like long and pointy and sharp like razor blades. Got a killer soundtrack on it. There's some Billy Idol, some Motley Crue, some Accept playing throughout like all the kills and everything. I don't know exactly how it did in the box office because it made 1.2 million, but it was in Italian money and it doesn't give a budget, which I can't imagine it would be a big budget for this movie because it's literally filmed inside a movie theater.
Those movies where it takes place in just one spot, I'm always curious. Like,
how much I think you're really just paying for like renting the place out and then they're paying the actors, you know, and then obviously the effects and whatnot, you know, but I mean, that's all just makeup and stuff at that point. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely a good one. I love watching it because it's just one of those, like, it's nonstop, you know. It doesn't, there's really no storyline to it. It's just nonstop violence and just craziness, you know. I love those kind of movies.
Yeah, I will say, like, my first movie I talked about, the Alive one, there's a lot of downtime in it. Like, it's kind of, like, slower in some parts kind of where it's like, you're kind of waiting, you're like, okay, where are the zombies at? Like,
yes, exactly.
It gets a little boring, so those omes that are, like, balls to the wall are fun.
Yeah, this was, like, I don't know, maybe 15 minutes into the movie, like, that all happens, and it's, like, another hour, you know, of just pure hell.
So you're like, where can you possibly go from here?
Yes, exactly. And, yeah, definitely go give this one a watch. And there's, I believe, a couple more that were made after this. I think it's like it's a 3-story anthology.
Okay.
There's Demons 2, which I don't like as much as this one. And then I don't know what the third one is. But yeah, go give it a watch. Demons 1985.
Okay, so I picked for my number 3.
Mm-hmm.
I picked 2002's 28 Days Later.
Oh, yeah.
Which, this is kind of one of the movies I was referring to when I was saying I like when they talk about where the disease came from and, like, why these people are zombies.
Right.
Instead of just, like, balls to the wall, of course there's zombies here, now we need to survive.
Yeah.
And it stars Cillian Murphy, which he was, like, a nobody back when this was made. You can tell because he has a naked scene, and I don't think he would do that now.
Sure.
But he just did Oppenheimer last year.
Oh, yeah.
But anyways... So it's all about this virus called the Rage virus, and it originates because there's all these scientists, and they're working on chimpanzees. And it shows in the beginning that chimpanzees have, like, these head monitors on, and they're watching all these different news clips, like they're studying humans almost.
Right.
And I don't know if they're injecting them with something or what, but these animal activists break into the lab and let the chimpanzees free.
Yeah.
Because, you know, they're all for animals, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And the chimpanzees go, and they... infect everybody with this Rage virus and turn them into flesh-eating zombies. Well, our main character, Cillian Murphy, who is Jim in this movie, has, like, the most terrifying situation ever. He wakes up in a hospital. He was in a coma for 28 days. He was, like, a bicycle rider, and he got in an accident.
Right.
And he wakes up, and he's still hooked up to, like, all this IV stuff, all this monitors, but there's nowhere to be no one to be found around him.
Right.
And he's looking around, and he's like, what the hell? Like, you're confused enough waking up from a coma.
Yeah,
but then there's nobody around.
Yeah, it's like, where is everybody? Why? What happened? You know?
So, like, he rips out his IV, rips out everything, and he's walking around this hospital. He steals a pair of hospital scrubs because he was, like, fully naked.
Right.
And there's no one anywhere. And then he goes outside, he starts wandering the street, and he sees, like, cash everywhere, so he starts picking it up and putting it in his bag. And he's like, alright, I guess, you know, something happened.
Right.
And he's wandering around, and it's a good probably 10-minute scene where he's just exploring the city, and there's no one anywhere.
Yes.
And then finally he goes to church, and he goes to the top of the building where you can like overlook, where like a lot of times they sing and stuff and they overlook the church. There's just bodies everywhere, probably like 50 to 100 bodies. And he says something, he like gasps or whatever, and these zombies of course like look up at him.
Oh yeah.
And then they run up after him, and one of them is the priest, and he's like, Father, I'm sorry, like, I'm sorry, Father. And of course Father is not Father anymore.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
He starts chasing after him. He gets run out in the street, and then these two people who are obviously not zombies are like, come here, we'll help you. And they're throwing, like, I don't know, I'm going to say it wrong, but like balls of fire. When you like get a bottle of alcohol and you light it on fire?
Molotov cocktail.
Yeah. And they were throwing it at the zombies.
Yeah.
And then they were hiding out in this little gas station, because again, they had those like metal things that you could pull out and hide underneath.
Yeah, yep.
And he's like, I gotta go find my family, I just got out of a coma, I want to make sure my parents are okay. And this is a really sad scene, but they go back to his house, and his parents are in bed together, hugging each other, and there's a bottle of pills next to him and a bottle of wine. And they're hugging each other, and they're both dead.
Aww.
And she's holding a picture of Jim when he was little, and on the back of it is a note saying, like, we fell asleep, so now we can be with you, don't wake up.
Oh, that's sad.
Or it says, like, we left you sleeping, now we're gonna meet you, don't wake up.
Yes, gotcha, okay.
And he sees it, and he's just bawling.
Yeah.
And, he gets all in his feels. And
I forgot about that part. That was sad.
He gets all in his feels, and he's like, we'll stay here tonight. It's too unsafe.
Right.
In the middle of the night, he's looking at some childhood photos with a flashlight, and of course, these zombies just come out of nowhere. It's a pretty good scare scene. Like, the zombie literally breaks through, like, the sunroof in the ceiling and falls on him.
Yeah, the skylight.
Yes. And they end up having to kill one of the people that they were with because he got bit. And it's cool the way that this is transmitted. It's transmitted through the zombie's blood.
Right.
So it's not through a bite. It's like, did you get any of their blood in your mouth? Did any of their blood get in your eye or your wound or anything?
Yes, exactly.
It's like a blood-borne illness, essentially.
Sure.
But like a pretty immediate one.
Right. Yeah, it's instantaneous. Yes. This is how this just transfers.
Not in like real life, where a blood-borne illness takes, months or years, whatever. But yeah, this one, it's pretty instantaneous. Yeah,
those zombies are fast, too. They're not, like, your typical, like Night of the Living Dead.
No. Like, the scene where they're chasing him through the street, I mean, he's running. Like, he's marathon sprinting.
Yeah, and they're just right behind him,
behind him, yes. And then you kind of see, like, some of the evils of humanity. Like, they go to this one house, and this guy is, like, keeping female survivors as sex slaves.
Yeah, I remember that.
Like, you just see, like, the evils of humanity when something like this, like, post-apocalyptic happens.
Right.
They get involved with a cab driver, and he's like, oh, this takes place in the UK. And he's like, oh, Manchester, there's this big blockade, like, we can make it there, and we can go with the army or the military, whoever. And they get there, and of course, there's no blockade.
Right.
But essentially, the movie ends, they're on the run, and Jim gets attacked at the very end, and then he goes to this, like, cottage to recover. And then there is a second one, which is 28 weeks later?
28 weeks
28 weeks later.
Yeah.
And it kind of picks up right at the cottage from there.
Yeah.
And they're actually making a 28 Years Later, which is supposed to come out next year, and Cillian Murphy is confirmed to be in it.
Oh, that's going to be good. I can't wait.
Which is pretty cool.
I love both those movies. I thought they were so, like, just different zombie movies when they came out.
So different, and it's funny because that's, like, the quality of them. It reminds me of, like, Cloverfield. Like, you're filming it first person, something happened, because it's so grainy and, like...
Yeah.
It's not shot well at all.
Right.
It's very, like, poor done, but it's, like, realistic. Because something like that would have happened.
No, definitely a good movie.
Definitely a good watch, for sure.
Yeah, and it's more serious than the ones I've been mentioning.
It's way more serious. Even 28 Weeks Later, there's... Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot more, like...
It's dark.
I don't know what the word... I'm trying to think of the right word. Yeah, I guess dark would be a good way to put it, but... Yeah, something like that. Alright, for my number 2, I picked 1985's Reanimator. I love this movie.
I was waiting for Reanimator to get brought up.
So this is a comedy horror film. It's loosely based off of Dr. Herbert West's Reanimator by H.P. Lovecraft. And it is directed by the one and only Stuart Gordon, and it's produced by the one and only Brian Yunza. And it stars Mr. Jeffrey Combs as Dr. Herbert West, and Bruce Abbott as Dan Kane, and the lovely Barbara Crampton as, I forget what her name is in that. I think it's Kimberly? Yeah, let me see. Megan Halsey. So basically this starts off with Dr. Herbert West over in, Zurich? I think he's in Zurich, Sweden. And he's at the University of Zurich in Sweden. and he's bringing his professor back to life. And, like, the cops break in, and he's like, this guy's like dead on the ground, and here's Jeffrey Combs sticking a needle in his neck full of this, like, it looks like antifreeze. It's like neon green. Yeah, it's like neon green. It looks like antifreeze in his neck, and all of a sudden, the doctor shoots up, his professor shoots up, and he's like, blood everywhere. He attacks one of the security guards. They end up, like, shooting him, and Jeffrey's like, no, the dose is too high, and, like, they're like, no, you killed him. He's like, no, I didn't kill him, I gave him life. And then it cuts to now Miskatonic University in Arkham. So I'm just a little side note here. So in, like, these H.P. Lovecraft movies, ones that are, like, based loosely, like, on him, so you're always going to hear, like, Miskatonic University or Arkham, Massachusetts. They're made up, obviously, they're not real. But it's just cool how they, like, put that into the films, and, like,
little, like, Easter egg.
Yeah, and Stuart Gordon did a couple loosely based films, like From Beyond and everything like that is another H.P. Lovecraft story, and it's the same setup the same way at Miskatonic University or Miskatonic Hospital. But back to Reanimators. So now that we're at Miskatonic University, Dan Cain is there, and he's becoming a doctor. It opens with him. Like, there's this lady who had a heart attack or something like that, and he's trying to resuscitate her, basically. Yeah. And then, like, the charge nurse is like, no, just call it, whatever. And he's like, no, he's still in med school. He's not an actual doctor yet at this point. And so she ends up dying, and then he goes home, and his girlfriend, who's Megan, who's played by Barbara Crampton, her and him are like, they're getting romantic and whatnot, and then they get a knock at the door, and it's Jeffrey Combs. I'm sorry, it's Herbert West. I keep calling him Jeffrey Combs. It's Herbert West at the door, and he's like, I saw that you were looking for a roommate. Is it still open? And he's very creepy in this movie. He's, like, very odd, and Megan's like, no, I don't like this guy. Don't let him in. Yeah. He's like, I'll pay cash. And he had, like, a wad of cash. So he's like, yeah, of course, come in, whatever. So now they're roommates, and there's a cat that Dan has, and the cat goes missing one night, right? And Megan's looking for it, and she wanders into Jeffrey's room and finds the cat in the freezer, like, frozen, basically. And she's like, I knew this guy was weird. He's like, how do you explain this? He's like, well, I found it dead. I didn't have the heart to tell you, so I was just going to try to bury it. And he's like, okay, whatever, I buy it. And Megan's like, no, this guy's a freaking nut. Don't listen to him. So then later that night, Dan wakes up, and he hears, like, all this commotion in the basement. He runs down to the basement, and there's Herbert West with another syringe full of antifreeze, pumping it into this cat, and the cat's going ballistic. It's, like, jumping around the walls. It's really funny. And they're trying to, like, hit it with, like, pieces of wood and stuff like that. And, like, Herbert West is like, get it. Come on, grab that. Grab the shovel. And, like, they're trying to kill this cat, and they end up killing it again. But then that's where Dan realizes, like, oh, you're the guy that they caught in Europe doing this stuff, reanimating the dead. And Herbert West basically tells Dan, like, just work with me, I'll make you famous and stuff like that. Like, I'm just so close to perfecting the serum and whatnot to get, so, like, they would actually wake up and not, like, turn homicidal.
Yeah.
So he basically agrees to help him, and he goes and tells the dean, like, you have to, like, give this guy money, Herbert West, because he actually can reanimate the dead. And the dean's like, I want nothing to do with it. You both are, like, out of the university. Basically kicks him out. So then they start going to the city morgue and taking bodies to reanimate, and it's just pandemonium after that. They, like, start reanimating these bodies, and they just, they have to kill them again because they're homicidal. So, and then there's this doctor at the university that's, like, he's very sadistic, and he's got a huge, like, hard-on for Megan, and he basically takes the serum from Herbert West and puts it into all these dead bodies and makes them, like, his slaves. He, like, somehow can control them. I don't know what the difference is. But then he, like, takes Megan hostage, and so Jeffrey and Dan are trying to, like, get Megan back, and he's down in this morgue in the university, and, like, there's all these bodies, like, guarding Megan, basically, and he's, like, being really weird with her and stuff like that. And they break in, and, like, the bodies go crazy. They start attacking each other and, like, attacking the doctor, attacking Herbert West, and eventually they end up killing Megan. And the end of the movie, it's actually kind of sad. He's like, no, don't die on me, don't die on me. He's trying to do the compressions again, like how he opened up, and then you know, Jeffrey Combs is, I'm sorry, Herbert West is dead at this point too, but then, like, as she's, like, crying, like, sitting there, like, a syringe of the neon green antifreeze looking stuff, like, rolls and hits his foot, and he, like, you know what he's gonna do, and then it cuts to, like, you know, he's, like, needles in her chest and giving her the dose, so, and then it cuts to, you know, the credits roll, so basically...
He's gonna keep doing it.
Yeah, no, he was just trying to revive his girlfriend kind of thing, you know. But, yeah, that's Reanimator.
What a wild ride.
Yeah.
Okay, so for my number 2, I picked definitely, like, a horror comedy. I picked Zombieland.
Oh, yeah.
Which I think this came out in, like, 2009. But I'm actually surprised I like this movie, because I don't usually like movies like this. But it's got Emma Stone, Woody Harrelson, Bill Murray, Jesse Eisenberg. Like, what else do you really want? And
I know, that's a good cast.
What else do you really want in a horror movie? And the plot of this movie is very loose, I would say. Like, there's not a lot of plot to it, which in a lot of zombie movies there really isn't a good plot.
Sure.
But I like, again, how they give, like, an origin to the disease. But essentially it started as mad cow disease that spread to humans, and that's what's causing the zombies to keep spreading it. And it spread through them attacking and them biting and things like that.
Right.
And we have our main character, which Jesse Eisenberg is. They all go after their home name, or the name of their hometown is their nickname. So his name in this movie is Columbus, because he's from Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah.
And he's trying to find out if his parents are still alive or not. And he runs into Tallahassee, who is played by Woody Harrelson, who's like this redneck, backwoods badass who's got like a truck full of guns.
Oh, yeah.
And he's just driving around trying to find a Twinkie.
Yeah.
You know, like the little hostess Twinkie. And there is a lot of sad parts to this. Like, Tallahassee talks about how he misses his dog, Buck, who got attacked by zombies, but we later find out that actually it was his son that got attacked by zombies.
Right.
And he had to put him down, and that part's really sad. And then they run into Wichita and Little Rock, which is Emma Stone, and then her sister, which I think is like Abigail or something. I don't know her name.
Right.
But they're con artists, and they're wicked smart. Like, they trick the guys, they steal their guns, they steal their car, like, wicked smart. If you're going to be out on the road, apocalyptic, and you're out of money, out of cash, out of whatever, they're smart bitches.
Right.
And eventually they all end up, like, working together, and the girls really want to go to Pacific Playland, which was, like, a amusement park in LA.
Sure.
And while they're on the way there, they're like, oh, we need to stop somewhere to stay, because we're tired or whatever. And Woody Harrelson's like, oh, we're staying in style tonight. So they pull up, and he's like, we're staying somewhere famous. And, like, the little girl's, like, 12. She's like, oh, we're staying at Beyonce's? He's like, no, better. And then she says, like, all these big names. He's like, no, better than that. And they pull up, and they're at Bill Murray's mansion.
Yeah.
And Bill Murray's playing Bill Murray.
Yes.
And they're just, like, messing around with all this stuff. They find his weed. They're smoking it. They get super high. And finally, Bill Murray just pops up out of nowhere, and he's just like, yeah, no, I've just been hanging out here the whole time. Like, didn't really know what was going on. And Woody Harrelson the whole time was like, Bill fucking Murray! And Jesse Eisenberg and the one sister are in the movie theater, because, of course, Bill Murray has a movie theater in his house. And he's like, oh, this is so exciting, you're going to find out who to call.
Right.
And he's showing her Ghostbusters.
Yep.
And Woody Harrelson and Emma Stone are like, you know what would be so funny is if you surprised him and then pretend to be a zombie. So they put makeup on him and everything, and he walks into the movie theater and he's like, oh, and of course Jesse Eisenberg shoots him.
Yeah.
And they're like, you fucking killed Bill Murray. But they end up making it to the amusement park, and they have this big, like, climax scene where they shoot out a bunch of zombies and they kill them. But I'd say it's a decent amount of gore. You're not going to see, like, them eating organs or anything like that, but it's pretty gory. Yeah. It's pretty bloody, I would say. There's some pretty good kill scenes. Like, their thing is, like, try to kill zombies in the most unique way to have, like, kill of the week.
Yeah, the kill of the week is funny as hell.
It's funny because it's like, if you have to live in a post-apocalyptic society like this, you might as well make the most fun of it, I would say.
I know, I love in the second one where they were talking about the kill of the week, and it went to that guy in, like, Italy, and he blew up the Leaning Tower of Pisa to kill that one zombie. He, like, blew it up so it would fall over and kill this one zombie.
Yeah. And Columbus, like, this whole time has, like, a set of rules that he follows, and then, like, one of the ones is, like, enjoy the little things, because he, like, Woody Harrelson runs a truck off the road because it's a Hostess truck looking for a Twinkie.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you have to, live in a society like this, you might as well make the best of it.
Exactly. Do what you gotta do,
Yeah, I love this movie. Highly recommend.
No, it's definitely a good watch for sure. All right, so for my number one, I picked Resident Evil. I love this movie. I love the franchise. I love the video games. It's definitely, it's the ultimate zombie movie. So I'm just going to talk about the first movie. I'm not going to talk about the whole, so I think there were 6 films. But the first one stars, obviously, Milla Jovovich, who's like the most badass female in the history of cinema. It stars her as Alice, and it basically starts out with these people are at the Hive, which is a research center in Raccoon City, a fictional town. It's like, I think it's in like the middle of the United States, in one of those states. I'm sorry. And it starts out with them going to work and just kind of run of the mill day. And there's this guy there, and he's taking the T virus, which is the thing that is going to cause all these people to turn into zombies. So he's taking this T virus, and he drops the sample on purpose to infect and cause the Hive to go into lockdown. So he ends up escaping with the remaining of the virus, but the whole Hive goes into lockdown, and the Hive basically goes homicidal and kills everybody inside the Hive, all these scientists and people that work there. And the Hive is like, I think, 5 miles underground and underneath Raccoon City. So then we cut to Milla Jovovich waking up in the shower, and she has no idea. Her name is Alice, but she has no idea who she is because she's suffering from amnesia, and she's wandering around this giant mansion. And she's kind of like having little bits of flashbacks of like, what happened and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And before she knows it, though, freaking like special forces are coming in through the windows. They got her like at gunpoint, and there's also this cop that's like there with her too, and he ends up getting handcuffed, and they basically open up this like false door, and it goes down this huge flight of stairs to this train that takes you into the Hive, and that's where the special forces tell Alice that she was basically a guard to the entrance of the Hive, because there's only one way to get into the Hive. There's 2 ways to get into the Hive. There's an entrance and an exit, and she was guarding the exit. And so she's like, I don't remember any of that. And they explained, like, yes, when the Hive went homicidal, there was some nerve gas deployed that would make you lose, like, your thought, just so, all kind of, like, cutting off all ties, basically, to the Hive. And so they're there, though, to go and see what happened at the Hive. So they end up on this train. They're going down into the Hive, and they get inside the Hive, and there's bodies everywhere, just dead bodies, and they have to make it to the core, and that's where this artificial intelligence is. It's called the Red Queen, and they're there to basically destroy the Red Queen. And as they're going through their way through the Hive and everything like that, they run into the first zombies, and the special ops team, they have all the guns and everything like that. They kill the one zombie, but then all of a sudden it like draws the attention of all these other zombies, right. And these people start, all these dead people start reanimating. And so they basically are just, trapped by these hordes of zombies, and they're navigating their way through. They finally, get away from these zombies, get to the Red Queen. But as they're going, and it's one of the most iconic scenes, and it's awesome because it's, I believe it's in one of the video games too. Oh, it's in a couple of the video games. They're going to get to the Red Queen, but there's this hallway, and it's like this glass hallway with like these holes coming out of the side of it, right? And it's kind of funny looking and stuff. So there's like 3 of the special ops guys in the hallway, and they're walking through it to go to where the Red Queen's computer is, and the door's shut. And they're like freaking out, like the other people that like are outside the hallway are like, come on, we got to get them out of there. We got to get them out of there. And like these laser grids start forming, and like, they're coming at these people, and they just get cut in half. And then like one guy, he survives like all 3 of the laser grid patterns, but the final pattern, there's no way to avoid it. It turns into like this actual like screen of lasers, and it just goes right through him and cuts him into like little cubes. And it's super crazy because it just goes right. Oh yeah, it goes right through him, and then it's just like, he stops, and then like you just see the blood form, and then he just falls into like a million pieces, literally into a million pieces. It's crazy. And they're able to like get the door open. They get the Red Queen, and they deactivate her and everything like that. And then, but before they deactivate her, they, how do we get out of here? And she's like, I'm not going to tell you. So they deactivate her, and then I forget what happens, but there's some sort of collateral that they use against her. So they turn her back on, and there's some sort of collateral. I think they had something of hers, and they finally get out of the hive, and they're on their way to the train again. And then Alice realizes like that she was the reason like this whole thing happened essentially, and there's another guy in there that was her like fake husband that appears, and he's like, no, I'm the one that did this basically. I'm the one that caused the hive to go haywire, and do you want to run away with me? And she's like, no, because she was trying to prove that Umbrella is making all these biological weapons and like using them for bad things, and so she's like, no, I want nothing to do with you. So he basically locks them in this room. And then he has the T-virus, and there's an antivirus for it, too. So he ends up making it to the train. But at this point, there's something that the Umbrella Corporation has been working on. And it's this, like, mutant... I don't even know. It's some sort of human thing, but it mutates every time it feeds. So it gets bigger and stronger every time it feeds. So it kills this guy. And now they're out of this room because the Red Queen kind of helps them get out of there. And they end up getting onto the train. But this thing, whatever this thing is, it's like this giant human demon dog thing. And
of course.
it's like chasing the train down and everything. And they end up trapping it like underneath the train. And they're able to like, cut its tongue off because the tongue's like on something. And they cut the tongue off, and the thing like gets lit on fire and burns. And so it's just Alice, the cop, and I believe one other of the special forces, but she's by this point completely zombified now because she had been bitten. So they end up having to kill her, and they finally get out of the hive exit back into the mansion. And you think everything's all good. They got the T-virus. They're going to be able to go and tell the world this is what Umbrella's really working on. But nope, Umbrella's there with another special force company that basically takes them. And that's the start of the second movie. So it basically kind of one movie trickles into the other, which is I love how they do it because it's literally like a video game.
Yeah, when it's like a direct sequel.
Yeah, you can keep following it and following it. You don't really have to watch them in any particular order because they kind of all just... I mean, you should watch first to go all the way through, but they kind of just pick up with a different... They don't really explain the next movie until the very end of it, if that makes any sense. So like in the second one... You're not going to understand how it ties into the first one until the very end because they kind of just randomly start off, So that's how that one works, and that is my number one. So, and you guys got to just go watch these movies.
So
They're
you
so
do love
badass.
Resident Evil.
Oh my god, I love Resident Evil. And Mila Jovovich is just the epitome of like a badass female lead. She's just so like crazy. It's just and the stunts and the zombies in this movie are just outrageous. I mean, there's obviously a lot of CGI because there's like demon dragon dog things and stuff like that. But still, I mean, it's just out of control, just some of the stuff that happens in this movie. And like the stunts are just awesome. Definitely like that, like steampunk kind of like industrial vibe, which I love. And it's got a killer soundtrack too. Like the first three Resident Evils have amazing soundtracks.
If I were to list like some of the movies that remind me of like early 2000s, this would definitely be one of them. It gives that vibe.
Yes, like the early 2000s. I definitely.
You can just tell by the way they dress, their hair, definitely the soundtrack. You can tell everything. Oh yeah, it's definitely your early 2000s vibes.
Yeah, and it killed it in the theaters. It was a $33 million budget, made $100 million.
Well, that's a good thing about. Was it a video game first?
Yeah, it was a video game.
That's a good thing about being a video game first because people will go see it just because they play the game. Mm-hmm. Like Five Nights at Freddy's, things like that. People will go see it regardless.
Yes. Yeah, and it doesn't really. It's loosely based on the video game.
Yeah.
It's not like. I mean, there's like some.
It draws a lot of people, though.
Yeah, like the Raccoon City and Umbrella Corporation. That's all in the video games and everything, but it's not like a direct retelling of the video game.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying?
Or what was the other one? Oh, The Last of Us. That was a video game.
Yeah.
Like the Mushroom Aliens.
Yes.
I thought about doing that, but I'm like, that's more of a show.
Yeah, I mean, that would qualify, I guess.
But I did like how it was spread. I thought that was so unique that it spread through fungus.
Yeah, I think that would be the way to do it. We watched another one too. I don't think you remember it though, but it was super deep. It was about the Kolos borehole in Siberia. No, you got to watch that. It's the same kind of thing.
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's the same kind of thing. Like there's a massive fungus. It's super cool.
Because fungus is like a really aggressive living being, pretty much. Like it's alive.
underground. It basically encompasses the whole entire planet. You know, underneath our feet. It's just one giant organism.
Yeah, and if it can adapt to body temperature, it could live inside of us.
Exactly.
Okay, so for my number one, I picked, in my opinion, the best zombie movie of all time. I picked 2016's Train to Busan.
Oh yeah, that's a great one.
Which I think this is. I know, like, Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, like, all the old ones. People love those, whatever. I think this is the best zombie movie of all time. I think it's beautifully shot. Just the pictures, everything is just, it's so beautifully well done. There's emotions to it. It's, like, probably one of the saddest movies you'll ever see.
Oh, yeah.
The kill scenes are great. It's gory. The zombies are, like, efficient. They're smart. They're fast.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's just one of the best movies. This is another Korean movie. Came out in 2016, and what happened was the Koreans, it's South Korean military, they unintentionally made some kind of biohazard that got leaked into the natural drinking source.
Right.
And we kind of start out at the beginning of the movie with this guy, and he's driving, and there's a deer that comes out in front of him, and the deer just looks like it has rabies almost, you would assume.
Right.
Because he's like, the deer's standing in front of his truck, and it's not moving.
Yeah.
And he's like, what the hell? And it kind of starts off, and you're like, it's one of those movies where it starts off at the beginning of the scene and then it never mentions it again.
Yeah.
So you're kind of like, what was that?
Right.
But we realized that the deer had gotten infected first and then brought it to the people.
Yes.
There's a lot of characters in this movie, but I would say our main two are, I'm not going to say these right, Seok Woo.
Yeah, I don't know.
Basically, there's a dad and daughter, and the dad's a workaholic, and he is a financial advisor, so he advises, like, some pretty top people.
Yes.
So he kind of gets the inside scoop on everything. Like, people will tell him, like, you know, the economy's going down this day, whatever.
Right.
And he's, like, a chronic workaholic, doesn't have a great relationship with his daughter. His daughter's probably, like, 7, I'd say. And it's her birthday, and she's like, I just want to go see my mom for my birthday. I don't want to hang out with you. He missed her dance recital or something.
Sure.
So he's like, fine, I'll take you to go see your mom. And the mom lives in Busan. So they're on a train there, and we see this infected zombie woman crawl onto one of the train cars. Mm-hmm. And my first instinct was like, how scary. You're stuck on this train, and now there's a zombie on there who's just going to keep infecting everybody. You have nowhere to go. You can't jump off the train. Like, there's nowhere to go.
Right.
So everything just kind of wreaks havoc from there, and she goes on to infect, like, certain train cars, and it kind of works its way up. They all kind of try to quarantine in a certain train car to keep the zombies out.
Yeah.
And, like I said, he's a financial advisor, so he kind of gets word on his phone. They're like, hey, like, the military's at this one, train station, you and your daughter go there, we'll save you.
Yeah.
So they get to the train station, and the whole military is infected.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody that was there to pick them up is all infected.
Yeah.
Like, great action scenes, great kill scenes here, like, really, really high pace, high tension. They end up getting back on the train, and it kind of just causes chaos from there, and I don't want to give too much away, because I honestly think you guys should watch it, especially the ending scene. It's just, like, devastating. But just a great, great movie. It is a little bit of a happy ending, I would say.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, I think it's a happy ending. At least they make it, you know.
Yeah, but they don't all make it.
Yeah. I know.
Like,
it is kind of sad.
There's a lot of really sad scenes in this.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's got all the good factors. Like, the zombies are actually aggressive, they're smart, they're quick, they're fast. And like I said, it's got the emotional aspect. There's a storyline. There's character development. It's not just like some cheesy, run-of-the-mill zombie movie.
Right,
it's
exactly.
really good.
Exactly.
And then the dad at the end. Oh, it's so sad. It's got a 94% on Rotten Tomatoes. It made $80 million in the box office.
Yeah, that's a good movie. I remember watching that. That was very good.
Budget was only $8 million.
Yeah, that's
it actually almost made $100 million.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, great movie. I would say that's probably the best zombie movie I've ever seen.
I know, Korean zombie movies are always, like, just
like
really good, too. Anything, like, Asian, like, film is just always going to be, like, really, really good. I mean, like, with, like, The Ring, The Grudge, Tale of Two Sisters.
So if you had to live in any of the movies that you picked, which one would you pick?
Oh, fucking Resident Evil.
With those zombies, though? You'd be okay with those zombies?
Yeah, no, dude, I would love to live like that. That'd be so cool. Especially, like, in the second and third one.
Yeah.
Or more, like, the third and fourth, because, like, that's when they're, like, on the road.
Yeah.
It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
What about you?
I would do Zombieland.
Yeah, I think that would be kind of fun too, especially if Woody Harrelson was you were hanging out with him. You know,
which I always say, if there was a zombie apocalypse, I wouldn't want to live because if there's apocalypse and there's no more like TJ Maxx, Starbucks, I'm out.
Yeah, you wouldn't.
We're done.
Be able to live, no.
Why would I want to live in an apocalypse world like that where I can't? No, why would I
just
want to
learn
do
how to make all the Starbucks coffee that you want.
No, I can't get a pedicure. We're done.
No, there'd still be like TJ Maxx. You can go get all the stuff you want for free now, though.
You'd have to worry about like a zombie coming after me and I'd have to shoot them.
Yeah, so.
No, we're not about that.
Get TJ Maxx out of it.
We're not about that.
Right.
Which is why it's not one of my favorite genres of movies. I think a lot of them are cheesy, but there are some good ones.
No, there are some good ones. Yeah, I like the ones you picked.
Well, I like the ones you picked. Well, some of them. I'm surprised you didn't do like Night of the Living Dead or.
Nah, because they're too run of the mill. I want to do something like different. Yeah, there's like too many run of the mill ones, like Day of the Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Night of the Living Dead.
Oh, so there's a lot of those.
Resident Evil. It's not really technically it is a zombie movie, but it's not technically a zombie.
It came up when I researched it. It was funny when I researched these movies. I was like trying to brainstorm some zombie movies, and like 31, Devil's Rejects, House of a Thousand Corpses came up, and I was like, "What the hell? Those aren't zombie movies."
Those aren't zombie movies.
And then I like put two and two together. I was like, "Oh, Rob Zombie."
Yeah, that would make sense. Zombie movies, Rob Zombie. Oh yeah.
Because I'm like, who the hell thinks those are zombie movies?
I know, right?
But that's what happens when you research.
Yep, that's all you gotta do.
All right, until next week, guys.
Stay spooky.
Stay spooky.